Hello everyone, it's wthelotus and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do a speed build in Henford on Bagley. So there's this show that we love to watch. It's called Homestead Rescue, and the premise of the show is that you have people who go out to build a homestead, and they run into challenges that they don't know how to solve. So we've seen on the show, we've seen families who will build a homestead and they have no source of clean water or no source of water at all. They have no way of keeping livestock, and these various things are necessary in order for them to survive off the grid out on this property they have. So there's this family, it's a father, a son, and a daughter, and they're homesteaders. So they will come out and they will show the family how to make their property livable. And it may involve drilling a well so that they can get fresh water. It may, if they already have a well, it may involve running pipes from the well to the house so that they don't have to manually haul the water to the house, those kinds of things. So a recent episode that we watched had, I think it was a couple, and one of the guy's brother was living on this property, and they were drinking water from a creek, but the water was not safe. They also had an outhouse, and the hole was full, and they had to figure out, you know, how to get a new outhouse, and they just had all kinds of issues. They were very, very new, I guess, to homesteading, and they had all of these issues. They already had a house built, but they needed help with the foundation because the foundation was unstable. So we watched this episode and it inspired me to do this build. Of course, because this is The Sims, things cannot look exactly the way that they looked in the episode that we watched of Homestead Rescue. So in the episode, their house was actually an A-frame house. So the rectangles went all the way down to the ground. And I wasn't able to figure out how to do that the way I wanted and still have a sleeping loft. So I just did it in a way that I was familiar with. I'm getting a lot better now about building stories, building an upper story right underneath the roof. So you don't have to have like a story and then a roof on top of that per se. Thank you very much to Little Simsy for her roof building tutorial. I learned it from her. So at the beginning of this build, you could see I put the house on a platform. I built the house first, and then I realized I wanted it on a platform so that, number one, the house could look more like the one that was that I saw on TV that this couple was living in, but also so that they would have platform space for their rain catchment and have a little bit of a back deck and things like that. I used a lot of CC in this build, but I did put a CC free version up on the gallery. I used a lot of packs. I do apologize to the people who don't have a lot of packs. I may at some point do a base game or perhaps a base game and outdoor retreat only version of it, but for the time being, I did just do a version that does not have any CC. So that's up in the gallery. The name of the lot is Homestead Rescue, so you can find that. And my name on the gallery is wthelotus. I'll make sure all of that information is in the description below. So I put the house on a platform, which I think is the first time that I've done this. I actually haven't used platforms all that much unless I was renovating a build that was done with platforms. But I specifically wanted a platform for this one, so I put the house on a platform. I did not put the shower house on a platform because I don't think the one on the show had one. It was very simplistic. They used an incinerating toilet. So I just took a toilet that is functional off the grid and stuck it in the shower house. That's the other thing. This lot has the off the grid, and there's another lot challenge. Ooh, I can't remember what it was, but I do know it has the off the grid lot challenge. All of the appliances work off the grid. They mostly have lanterns. There are a few ceiling lights in the main house. But they do have lanterns. You'll see lanterns all throughout the build, just in case they haven't generated enough electricity with their solar, they will still have light. They will still have water. I might have put the spring lot trait for this. I'm not sure at this point. I don't remember. But they have two solar panels at the end of the build. You'll see they have two solar panels in the front yard, and they have two dew collectors on the back patio. On the show, the family that came out to help rescue these homesteaders showed them how to build a rain catchment system. They were actually located in a what they called a rainforest. That part of the country got a lot of rain, so they had a clean source of water. They just didn't know how to access it. So the Homestead Rescuers came out, they showed them how to do rain catchment off the roof, and they ran the rainwater into these two huge containers. I don't even remember how many gallons it was. I'm pretty sure it was a couple thousand gallons of water those two tanks could hold. So it was two blue tanks that were actually on part of the porch. They built a platform for them, so they were on a platform, and then the water ran into the house. So that was their clean source of water. So I put the dew collectors on the back patio in this build, just as a nod to what they did with the rain catchment in the show. I deliberately did not do much landscaping, and I also didn't do a lot of clutter, dressing up the interior or even the exterior of the house. The idea is that these are people who they're just starting out. They don't have that much right now. Over time, they'll be able to add things, like maybe they'll add a barn, and they'll be able to have a llama, or they'll be able to have a cow. But for now, they're just starting out. So I made the build very simplistic, and it's granted, it's cleaner than it would be in real life, but this is a Sims. I didn't want to put that kind of detail in, so I didn't bother, but I did make it a very simple build. So you'll see in the sleeping loft, really the only thing that's up there is the bed, and there's just enough room for the bed and a half tile on either side of the bed and a tile width at the foot of the bed, so that two Sims could go up into the loft and sleep in the bed without one having to scooch over. And that's actually very realistic for a lot of tiny homes. You will find that the sleeping loft will hold pretty much nothing but a bed. So I did end up adding storage downstairs so that they could hang some clothes up, and there's some drawers, so they could put some things in. I have originally had feared that the house would be too big because I really wanted to capture the smallness and the coziness of some people who were just starting out. They didn't have the money or maybe not the knowledge to build a larger house yet. But in the end, it worked out very well. There was just enough room downstairs for a galley kitchen and for there to be a workbench and there a dining table, a little seating area. There's no television. I think I did add a radio. So at least they could have some music, but they don't have a television or anything like that. They're really starting from the beginning. No washer dryer. They will be washing their clothes by hand and hanging them up on the clothesline that's in the yard. And as you saw before, the toilet and the shower and the sink are in a separate building. And that is the way that that homestead that inspired me to do this build was done on the show. They did not have a toilet in the house. They originally had to go out to an outhouse, and then they were able to get that incinerating toilet so that they wouldn't have to worry about digging a new hole and all of the nastiness that comes with an outhouse. They were in serious trouble, and most of the homesteads that are featured on the show are in serious trouble. In this household's case, the runoff, they were using an outhouse, which they had the shack built around it, but it was basically a hole in the ground. Anybody who has either traveled to places where there are outhouses knows what I'm talking about. So it's basically a hole in the ground with a platform built over it and a toilet seat. And the runoff from the outhouse was flowing into the stream. So when they tested the water quality of the stream, they found out, of course, there was E. coli in the water. And this was the water that they were using to eat and drink and bathe in, and they had gotten sick several times, which was not surprising. Fortunately, like I said, the homestead rescuers were able to help them do range catchment off their roof, so they had a clean few thousand gallons of water now that they can use. And also with the incinerating toilet, they were no longer putting their waste into the ground. So they didn't have to worry about E. coli and things of that nature. It's a pretty interesting show. I don't remember the channel. I want to say Nat Geo Wild, but I'm not sure what channel Homestead Rescue comes on. But if you search, I use DuckDuckGo as my search engine. So if you search for Homestead Rescue TV show, you will find it. And I will try to remember to put a link to the show in the description since the show did inspire this build. So now I'm getting to the end of the build. As you can see, I added the closet, space for their shoes, some storage boxes, and really that's it. It's a very, very simple build for people for Sims who want to live a simple life. It's comfortable. They have a wood burning stove so they can keep themselves warm. Their kitchen appliances all work off the grid, so they don't have to worry about not being able to use them if they haven't generated enough solar power, but they should be okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this speed build. My name is wthelotus, and I will see you in the next one.